Welcome to Bicycle Maintenance 101, Fix a Flat in 5 with your host and avid cyclist, Andy Eline. I'm passionate about cycling and I want you to be too. I ride thousands of miles a year now, but it wasn't always that way. Flats were really intimidating to me when I started, but I've learned how to prepare and deal with them, and so can you. My show has lots of pictures and information. You may want to review it later, so I've created a link to a handout version with all my notes. Flats. Everyone gets them. The best way to deal with them is to be prepared. There are a lot of contributing factors to give you a flat. Wear is an important factor for your tires. You can end up with worn, dry, rotten tires that are prone to flats. Road conditions such as glass, metal, and sharp rocks in the road obviously can cause punctures. And an often overlooked thing is tire pressure. You can end up with what's known as pinch flats if you have underinflated tires. Sadly, when you get a flat is often conversely related to how far away you are from home, how tired, and how prepared you are. I remember one of the first long group rides I took, we went out to the Velvet Ice Cream Factory out in Utica. We were about 50 or so miles in, headed back, and everything was going great until I ended up with a flat. And we ended up with a series of problems trying to fix it. I couldn't get it together. I couldn't get the tube in there right, and even a OSU pediatric brain surgeon couldn't help me. Eventually, I was able to hobble back home with an underinflated, repatched tube, and I resolved to never let a situation like this happen to me again. This handsome man sure has a sweet ride, but if he gets a flat, he's out of luck. A stock saddlebag can help save the day. It carries everything you need. This guy's jealous, and he should be. I find that there's always things to bring. There are some necessities and some niceties. The musts that you should always have are a spare tube, a pump or CO2 cartridge to help you reinflate that tube, tire levers, which are generally plastic devices that help you get the tire on and off and get the tube in without puncturing it. A patch kit is always handy to have in case you try to patch your spare tube and it doesn't work out. And it's always a good idea to have ID, money, and phone with you in case you run into larger emergencies and you need to contact someone or pay for larger services. And then I found that there's some things that are nice to have, including hand wipes, such as that you'd get with takeout wings, bandages, you never know when you might end up with a gouge in your hand, and some food, because you never want to bonk. I've learned these tips and tricks from others, and I'm sharing them with you now. When your tire pressure's down, you're not out. The first thing you want to make sure you do is don't panic. You want to be safe. If you're on the road, you want to make sure you pull off to the side in a safe location. If you're on the trail, you want to make sure you get out of the trail. You don't want to impede on anyone else's good time. And you want to use your tools and get to work. So after you found your safe spot, you want to take off your wheel, and then what's shown in B, you want to examine the wheel and look for any visible culprits, reasons that caused the puncture in the first place. Then you want to get into the tube. You want to use your non-puncturing tire levers. These devices are $10 or less in a bike store. You want to use one of the levers and then another to help pry out the tire. But keep one bead of the tire in the rim. It makes it a lot easier to get the tube in and out, and you don't have to take the whole tire off. You just want to get into there. And get to the tube. And once you're in and have the tire separated, you want to feel all around it. You want to make sure that there's no loose debris or other things that cause punctures stuck in there, because the last thing you want to do is have to repeat this process again once you get the new tube in place. So you want to push out the bad tube, starting from the valve. Here's a pro tip. The pro wrenches, as they call them, the pro mechanics, always make sure they align the decal on the tire with the hole where the valve is on the rim. That makes it easy to find when they go to pump up the tire or when they go to do maintenance like this. I always try to line mine from now on, and that helps me pump up before I go and find my valve when it's time to replace a tube. So you want to unwrap your replacement tube and blow it up just a little bit so it stays round. You want to slide your replacement tube in, starting with the valve, and carefully feed the tube all the way around the rim and inside the tire. Make sure there's no folds or pinches and that the tube is solidly inside the tire, and then use your handy tire levers to reseat the tire bead back into the groove on the rim. CO2 cartridges are amazing. But they can be tricky. These little devices help you get reinflated, but they all work in different manners. And one of the problems I had on my Utica ice cream ride was I blew up my first tire. So you have to get familiar with them, and practice makes perfect. You want to figure out how your cartridge engage. Some of them screw on, some of them just pop into place, and you want to be familiar with how that works. Mine has a little screw on, and then you use a trigger. And generally the results aren't always quite up to snuff for optimal tire pressure, but it's a lot easier and faster than trying to pump with a hand pump. And certainly you'll have enough pressure to get back on the road. There are other options. There are hand pumps that people like to carry, like is shown in the picture J there. And obviously it's preferable to have a floor pump with a tire gauge so you can make sure you're inflated to the proper inflation. And you might want to check to see if anyone has that when even after you've fixed your tire and gotten a new tube in to get up to the right pressure. So you want to put your wheel back on after you've reinflated. Make sure the quick release is safely in place and that your wheel is aligned within the brakes, and spin the wheel a couple times. Make sure that there's no mechanical problems, and then you're good to go. You're back in the saddle, and that is until the next time. Rinse and repeat. Now that you're armed and prepared with the Fix a Flat in 5 training, you'll be ready anytime a flat strikes. Remember, there's also a link at the end of this handout with notes regarding all the steps here. Be safe and have fun out there, and I hope this helps demystify changing a tube and that you'll get lots of miles out of this training. Take care and have a good night.